Imagine a landscape that does not belong to this world. You are standing in the heart of Anatolia, in the center of what is now Turkey, and the earth around you has been sculpted into shapes that have no name. Towers of pale stone rise from the valley floor like enormous melting candles, their bases thick and solid, their tops tapered into points or flattened into caps of darker rock that balance improbably on the soft pillars beneath them. They are called fairy chimneys, and they look exactly like something from a story told to children at bedtime. Something dreamed rather than made, something imagined rather than real. But they are real. You are looking at them now, hundreds of them, thousands, stretching across the valley in every direction, a forest of stone pillars in shades of cream and rose and pale amber, standing in the last light of the evening like sentinels guarding a secret that the earth has been keeping for millions of years. The sky above you is enormous. It arches from horizon to horizon in a great dome of deepening blue, fading at its edges into the faintest lavender where the last light of the sun still touches the dust that hangs in the dry Anatolian air. There are no clouds. There are never many clouds here in summer. The land is semi-arid, and the sky is clear and clean and utterly without obstruction. You can see for miles. You can see the ridgelines of distant hills, the faint purple shapes of mountains far to the south, the dark line of a river valley cutting through the plateau like a vein through pale skin. The stone beneath your feet is soft, not soft like sand, but soft in the way that certain rocks are soft when they are young, when they have not yet been hardened by centuries of wind and sun and rain. This is Tuff, volcanic Tuff. It was born in fire, in eruptions so vast and so violent that they buried this entire region under hundreds of meters of ash and pumice and superheated gas. That was millions of years ago. The volcanoes are quiet now, though not extinct. Mount Ursiais still stands to the east, a great snow-capped cone that watches over Cappadocia like an old god who has fallen asleep but might yet wake. The ash settled, it compressed, it fused together under its own weight into a rock called Ignimbrite, a type of tuff, pale and fine-grained and surprisingly easy to carve. And then the wind and the water went to work. They sculpted the fairy chimneys, they carved the valleys, they hollowed out caves and alcoves and overhangs in the soft stone, creating a landscape that looks like it was designed by a sculptor with an unlimited imagination and an unlimited supply of time. The air is warm. It carries the scent of dry earth and wild thyme and something faintly mineral, the smell of stone that has been baking in the sun all day and is now releasing its warmth slowly into the cooling evening. A breeze moves through the valley, gentle and unhurried, stirring the dust and carrying with it the distant sound of a goat bell. A single, clear, metallic note that rings across the silence and then fades. You are in Cappadocia, and beneath your feet, beneath this soft and ancient stone, beneath the fairy chimneys and the valleys and the orchards and the vineyards and the quiet villages where people have lived for thousands of years, there is a city. Not the remains of a city, not the ruins of foundations and fallen walls. A city, an entire underground city carved into the rock, descending 18 stories into the earth, with rooms for 20,000 people, with ventilation shafts and water wells and stables, and wine presses and churches and schools and storage chambers and rolling stone doors that weigh 500 kilograms each. A city that was hidden from the surface. A city that was meant to be invisible. A city that was built not to be seen, but to protect those who sheltered within it from the dangers of the world above. Its name is Derinkuyu in Turkish. It means deep well, and the well goes deeper than you can imagine. Let yourself settle now. Let the image hold you. The pale stone towers in the fading light, the warm, dry, time-scented air, the vast Anatolian sky darkening to indigo above you. There is nowhere else you need to be tonight. Nothing that requires your attention, no messages waiting, no tasks undone, just this ancient place and this story and the slow, steady rhythm of your breathing. Breathe in gently, feel the warm air fill your lungs, feel the scent of thyme and dry earth and ancient stone. Breathe out slowly, feel your shoulders drop, feel the small muscles around your eyes soften, feel the weight of the day lift from you like dust lifting from a valley floor, carried away by the evening breeze, dissolving into the quiet Anatolian twilight. You are safe, you are warm beneath your covers, and this story will carry you, the way the stone has carried secrets for millennia, gently, steadily, into the deep and dreamless dark. To understand Derinkuyu, you must first understand the stone, because everything begins with the stone. Everything depends upon it. Without this particular stone, in this particular place, shaped by these particular forces over these particular millions of years, the underground city could never have existed. The story of the stone begins with fire, with volcanic fire, with eruptions that dwarfed anything in recorded human history. Roughly 10 million years ago, give or take a few million, a chain of volcanoes erupted across central Anatolia. These were not the neat, conical volcanoes of picture books. These were supervolcanoes, calderas, eruptions so enormous that they did not merely send lava flowing down their slopes. They sent pyroclastic flows racing across the landscape at hundreds of kilometers per hour, walls of superheated ash and gas and pulverized rock, glowing orange and red and white, rolling across the plateau like a burning tide, incinerating everything in their path, and then settling, layer upon layer upon layer, meters upon meters, sometimes hundreds of meters deep. The ash cooled, it compacted. The weight of each new layer pressed down upon the layers beneath it, squeezing out the air, fusing the particles together, transforming loose, powdery volcanic ash into something more solid, something that could be carved, something that could hold its shape. This was Ignimbrite, welded Tuff, a rock born from catastrophe and cooled into something gentle, something workable, something that would become the most important building material in the history of this region. And here is the quality that matters most, the quality that made everything possible. When Ignimbrite is freshly cut, when it is first exposed after being sealed within the earth, it is remarkably soft. A person with a simple iron tool, or even a sharp bronze tool, or even in a pinch a hard stone tool, can carve it, can cut into it, can hollow out chambers and corridors and stairways with relative ease. The rock yields to the chisel. It cooperates. It seems almost willing to be shaped. But once it has been exposed to the air, something changes. The tuff begins to harden. It oxidizes. The minerals within it react with oxygen and moisture and begin to set. The way cement sets, the way clay hardens in a kiln. Over days and weeks and months, the freshly cut surface becomes dense and durable and resistant to erosion. The soft, carvable stone transforms into hard, protective stone. The walls that were easy to carve become difficult to breach. The ceilings that were easy to hollow become strong enough to bear the weight of the earth above. It is as though the rock was designed for this purpose, as though nature created the perfect building material for people who needed to carve their homes, their storerooms, their churches, their entire cities, from the living earth beneath their feet, soft enough to work, hard enough to last, and it has lasted. for thousands of years. Consider the scale of these eruptions. The volcanic deposits in Cappadocia are in some places over 100 meters thick. That is the height of a 30-story building in solid rock, created from ash that fell from the sky. The eruptions that produced this deposit were among the most powerful geological events in the recent history of the Earth. They dwarfed Vesuvius. They dwarfed Krakatoa. They would have darkened the skies for months. They would have altered the climate across the entire hemisphere. They were catastrophic beyond imagining. And yet, from that catastrophe came something gentle, something workable, something that would shelter human life for millennia. The terrible fire became the soft stone, the ash became the tuff, the destruction became the building material for one of the most extraordinary feats of underground engineering in human history. There is a strange beauty in that transformation, a lesson, perhaps, about what can be built from the aftermath of devastation. The landscape that the volcanoes created is unlike anything else on Earth. Cappadocia is a word that may derive from the ancient Hittite language, meaning land of beautiful horses, but the beauty of the land is not the rolling green pastures you might associate with horse country. It is stranger than that, more alien, more dreamlike. The fairy chimneys are the most famous feature. They form when a layer of harder rock sits atop a layer of softer tuff. The wind and rain erode the softer rock away, undercutting the harder cap, leaving a tall pillar of tuff topped by a flat or mushroom-shaped stone hat. Some fairy chimneys are 3 meters tall, some are 40. They stand alone or in clusters, sometimes in great crowds that fill an entire valley, looking like the petrified audience of some ancient open-air theater. Or like chessmen on a board that stretches to the horizon. Between the chimneys, valleys wind through the soft rock. Pigeon Valley, Rose Valley, Love Valley, with its famously suggestive rock formations, the valleys are sheltered and quiet, and over the centuries they have been carved into as well. Cave churches with frescoed walls, pigeon houses cut into the cliff faces, their entrances painted white to attract the birds whose droppings were used as fertilizer for the vineyards below. Homes, stables, workshops, storage rooms. The entire landscape is honeycombed with human habitation, layer upon layer, century upon century, a palimpsest of occupation written in stone. And beneath it all, the underground cities. There are more than 200 known underground settlements in Cappadocia. Some are small, just a few rooms carved beneath a house. Some are extensive complexes that descend several stories into the earth. But the greatest of them all, the deepest, the most elaborate, the one that has captured the imagination of the world, is Derinkuyu. Let the history come to you now. Let it settle around you like a warm blanket. There is no rush, no destination you need to reach, just the slow unfolding of a story that spans thousands of years, a story told in stone, a story that begins with the oldest inhabitants of this ancient land. Who first dug into the rock at Derinkuyu? This is a question that scholars have debated for decades. The earth keeps its secrets, and the underground chambers, carved and recarved and expanded and modified over millennia, do not yield their dates easily, but the best evidence points to the Hittites. The Hittites were one of the great civilizations of the ancient world. They ruled central Anatolia from roughly 1600 BCE to 1178 BCE, a span of over 4 centuries. Their capital was at Hattusa, in the hills to the northeast of Cappadocia, a massive fortified city whose ruins still stand on a windswept ridge. They were contemporaries of the ancient Egyptians. They fought Ramesses II at the Battle of Kadesh in 1274 BCE. one of the largest chariot battles in history, and then signed the world's first known peace treaty. They were powerful, they were sophisticated, they were masters of bronze and then of iron, and they knew the stone of Cappadocia. The Hittites are believed to have carved the first underground chambers at Derinkuyu, not the vast, multi-story city that exists today, but the beginnings, the first rooms, the first corridors, the first tentative descents into the earth. Why would they dig? The most likely answer is storage. The underground chambers maintain a remarkably constant temperature, roughly 13 degrees Celsius, year-round, cool in the blistering Anatolian summer, warm relative to the freezing Anatolian winter. It is the perfect environment for storing grain, for keeping food cool, for preserving wine and oil in clay vessels that would sit undisturbed in the dark for months or years. The earth was a natural refrigerator, a pantry carved from stone. And the Hittites, practical, organized, administratively sophisticated, would have recognized this immediately. But there may have been another reason: defense. The Hittite Empire was surrounded by enemies: the Egyptians to the south, the Assyrians to the east, the Casca people to the north, raiders who harassed the Hittite frontier for centuries, and later, the Sea Peoples, that mysterious confederation of warriors who swept across the eastern Mediterranean around 1200 BCE and brought down civilization after civilization. The Mycenaeans, the Hittites themselves, plunging the ancient world into a dark age that lasted centuries. In a landscape under constant threat, the ability to disappear underground would have been invaluable. To vanish from the surface, to hide your people and your stores and your livestock in chambers that an enemy could not see, could not find, could not reach. The underground spaces were not just storage, they were refuges. They were the first shelters in what would become the greatest underground city on Earth. The Hittite Empire fell around 1178 BCE. The great cities were abandoned. The trade routes collapsed. Central Anatolia entered a period of fragmentation and uncertainty, but the people of Cappadocia remained. They always remained. Empires rose and fell above them, but the people of the valleys and the plateaus endured, and they kept digging. The Hittites were also among the first people in the world to work iron. This is significant. Iron tools are harder than bronze. They hold a sharper edge. They can cut stone more efficiently and more precisely. The iron chisels and picks of the Hittites would have made underground carving considerably easier than it would have been with the bronze tools of earlier civilizations. The coincidence of soft, carvable stone and hard, efficient tools was fortuitous. It was as though the landscape and the technology had been designed for each other, the yielding tuff and the biting iron, working together to create something that neither could have achieved alone. The Hittites also understood ventilation. Their surface buildings and their fortifications at Hattusa show sophisticated understanding of airflow and temperature management. It is reasonable to assume that they applied this knowledge underground as well, carving the earliest versions of the ventilation shafts that would become such a critical feature of Derinkuyu. After the Hittites came the Phrygians. You may know the Phrygians from the story of King Midas, the legendary ruler whose touch turned everything to gold. Midas was almost certainly a real king, or rather, Mita was his name in the Phrygian language, who ruled in the 8th century BCE. His kingdom centered on the city of Gordion to the northwest of Cappadocia, but Phrygian influence extended across much of central Anatolia. The Phrygians were great builders in stone. They carved monumental facades into cliff faces. They built elaborate tombs. They had a sophisticated culture that blended influences from the East and the West. And in Cappadocia, they expanded the underground chambers that the Hittites had begun. They dug deeper. They connected rooms with corridors. They began to create something that was no longer just a collection of storage cellars, but a network, a system. The bones of what would eventually become an underground city. And then came the Persians. The vast Achaemenid Empire swallowed Anatolia in the 6th century BCE. Cappadocia became a Persian satrapy, a province governed by a Persian-appointed satrap. The Persians brought roads and administration and taxation, but they also brought instability. The satrapies were not always loyal. Revolts flared and were suppressed. Armies marched back and forth across the plateau, and the people of Cappadocia continued to dig. The underground spaces grew. New chambers were added. New tunnels were excavated. Each generation built upon the work of the last. The way a coral reef builds upon the skeletons of its ancestors, slowly, incrementally, over centuries. After the Persians came Alexander the Great. After Alexander came the Seleucid Empire. After the Seleucids came the Romans. Each new power brought its own culture, its own gods, its own architecture, its own threats. And through all of these changes, through all of these upheavals, the underground chambers of Derinkuyu continued to grow, level by level, room by room, deeper and deeper into the soft, ancient, patient stone. Let yourself drift for a moment. Let the centuries wash over you like waves on a shore, each one arriving and retreating, leaving behind its small deposit of sand, its tiny contribution to the landscape. The Hittites, the Phrygians, the Persians, the Greeks, the Romans, name after name, century after century, and all the while, beneath the surface, in the cool, dark, silent spaces of the earth, the carving continues, the chisel strikes the rock, the dust falls, the tunnels lengthen. The city grows. Your breathing is steady now, your body is heavy and warm, the pillow is soft beneath your head, the muscles of your face are relaxed, your jaw is unclenched, your tongue rests softly in your mouth. You are not holding on to anything, you are not gripping anything, you are open and soft and still. And the story continues, the way a river continues, finding its way through valleys of stone, always moving, always carrying you forward towards sleep. It was the early Christians who transformed Derinkuyu from a network of underground chambers into a true city. And to understand why, you must understand what it meant to be a Christian in the Roman Empire during the first 3 centuries after Christ. Christianity began as a small, persecuted sect in the eastern provinces of Rome. Its followers were viewed with suspicion. They refused to worship the emperor as a god. They met in secret. They spoke of a kingdom that was not of this world. To the Roman authorities, they were subversives, troublemakers, a threat to the social order. The persecutions came in waves. Under Nero in the 1st century, Christians were blamed for the Great Fire of Rome and thrown to the lions. Under Decius in the 3rd century, a systematic empire-wide persecution demanded that all citizens perform a public sacrifice to the Roman gods. Those who refused were arrested, imprisoned, tortured, executed under Diocletian, the last and most severe of the great persecutions. Churches were destroyed, scriptures were burned. And Christians who refused to recant were put to death by the thousands. Where do you go when the most powerful empire in the world wants you dead? You go underground. Cappadocia was an early stronghold of Christianity. St. Paul passed through the region on his missionary journeys. The Cappadocian Fathers, Basil the Great, Gregory of Nazianzus, and Gregory of Nyssa, were among the most influential theologians of the early church. They shaped Christian doctrine. They established monasteries. They built a tradition of faith that would endure for millennia. And when the persecutions came, the Christians of Cappadocia did what the people of this region had always done. They went into the stone. They expanded the underground chambers. They deepened the tunnels. They carved churches and chapels and baptisteries in the rock. They created a world beneath the world, a hidden city where they could worship in safety, where they could raise their children, where they could wait out the storms of persecution until it was safe to return to the surface. The underground churches at Derinkuyu are extraordinary, carved from the same soft tuff as the chambers around them. They have barrel-vaulted ceilings and rounded apses and niches for icons and altars carved from the living rock. They are simple, austere, undecorated for the most part. No frescoes like the cave churches in the valleys above. These were not meant to be beautiful. They were meant to be safe. They were places of worship in the most literal sense. Places where the act of worshipping was itself a risk, and the beauty was in the faith itself, in the courage it took to pray in a hidden chamber deep beneath the earth while soldiers searched for you on the surface above. The Cappadocian Fathers left a remarkable literary legacy. Basil the Great wrote extensively about the monastic life, about community, about the obligations of Christians to one another. His writings shaped the development of monasticism throughout the Eastern Church. Gregory of Nazianzus was a poet and a theologian whose sermons are still read in Orthodox churches today. Gregory of Nyssa was a philosopher and a mystic whose explorations of the nature of God and the human soul remain influential. These were not men who lived in underground cities. They were scholars and bishops and public figures, but they created the theological and spiritual framework within which the underground communities operated. They taught that the Christian life was a life of community, of shared responsibility, of mutual care and protection, and the underground cities of Cappadocia were the physical expression of that teaching. Every chamber shared, every resource pooled, every person responsible for every other person. The underground city was not just an engineering achievement, it was a theological one, a living embodiment of the principle that no Christian faces danger alone. The Christians did not merely hide at Derinkuyu, they lived there for days, for weeks, sometimes for months at a time, and this required planning, organization, engineering on a scale that still astonishes. Think about what it means to house 20,000 people underground. 20,000, the population of a substantial town. Men, women, children, elderly, infants, they all need air to breathe. They all need water to drink. They all need food to eat. They all need sanitation. They all need light. They all need to be protected from the enemy above and from the dangers of the underground environment itself, cave-ins, flooding. The slow, silent accumulation of carbon dioxide in poorly ventilated spaces. The engineers of Derinkuyu solved every one of these problems, and they solved them with an elegance that modern engineers find remarkable. The ventilation system is perhaps the most impressive achievement. Derinkuyu has approximately 52 ventilation shafts, vertical channels cut through the rock from the deepest levels all the way to the surface. The deepest of these shafts reaches approximately 55 meters below ground. 55 meters. That is roughly the height of an 18-story building, but going down instead of up. These shafts serve a dual purpose. They bring fresh air into the underground complex, creating a natural circulation system as the warm air in the tunnels rises and draws cool air in from the surface. And some of them also serve as wells, dropping all the way down to the water table, providing fresh, clean water to every level of the underground city. The engineering of these shafts is extraordinary in itself. Consider what is involved in carving a vertical shaft 55 meters deep through solid rock. You cannot start from the bottom. You have not dug that deep yet. You must start from the top. You must stand on the surface and begin to dig straight down, removing rock as you go, lowering yourself deeper and deeper into a narrowing well of stone. The shaft must be straight. It must be plumb. If it deviates even slightly from vertical over the course of 55 meters, it will miss its target at the bottom by a significant margin. The precision required is remarkable, particularly for builders working without modern surveying equipment. Some scholars believe the shafts were carved from the bottom up, excavated as the underground levels were dug deeper, with the shaft extending upward to meet the surface. Others believe they were carved from both directions simultaneously, like the tunnel to Kaymakli, with teams working from the top and the bottom and meeting somewhere in the middle. Either way, the achievement is impressive. 55 meters of vertical shaft through volcanic tuff, carved by hand, by lamplight, in a space barely wide enough for a person to work. The placement of the shafts is not random. They are distributed throughout the complex in a pattern that ensures adequate airflow to every section, every level, every chamber. Wherever you are in Derinkuyu, no matter how deep, no matter how far from the entrance, the air is breathable, it is cool, it is fresh, it moves gently through the corridors, barely perceptible, like the breathing of the earth itself. And the shafts at the surface were disguised. Their openings were hidden. Some were incorporated into the wells of surface dwellings, so that a casual observer would see nothing but an ordinary well in an ordinary courtyard. Others were concealed in fields or orchards, their openings covered with stones or vegetation. The enemy could walk directly over a ventilation shaft and never know that 55 meters below his feet, thousands of people were breathing the air that rose silently through the rock. The water supply is equally ingenious. Several of the ventilation shafts double as wells, reaching the water table deep beneath the tuff. These wells provided fresh water to the underground inhabitants, and they could be sealed from inside if necessary. An invader who discovered a well and attempted to poison the water could be thwarted by simply blocking the shaft at a lower level, isolating the contaminated section while maintaining access to clean water through other shafts. The distribution of water through the underground city was carefully planned. Wells were positioned to serve clusters of chambers on multiple levels. Water could be hauled up by hand using buckets and ropes, or in some cases, channeled through carved conduits that directed the flow from higher levels to lower ones. Every level had access to water. Every section could sustain its inhabitants. But the most dramatic feature of Derinkuyu, the feature that speaks most eloquently of the fear and the ingenuity that built this place, is the rolling stone doors. They are massive. Each one is a circular disc of stone, roughly 1.5 meters in diameter and half a meter thick, weighing approximately 500 kilograms. They are carved from a single piece of hard stone, harder than the surrounding tuff, andesite or basalt, chosen specifically for their strength and density. Each door sits in a carved groove in the corridor floor. When the passage is open, the door rests in a recess in the wall, out of the way, allowing people to pass freely. But when danger threatens, the door can be rolled across the corridor and into position, sealing the passage completely. The stone fills the opening precisely. It cannot be pushed aside from the outside. It cannot be levered open. It cannot be broken through without enormous effort and specialized tools. And even if an attacker managed to breach one door, he would find another and another. The doors are positioned at every level, at every critical junction, creating a layered system of defense that could seal off sections of the underground city independently. The craftsmanship of these doors is remarkable. They were not carved from the same tuff as the surrounding tunnels. The tuff is too soft, too easily chipped, too vulnerable to repeated impact. Instead, the builders sought out harder stone, andesite or basalt from nearby volcanic formations, and carved the doors from this denser, more durable material. They would have had to quarry the stone on the surface, shape it roughly to size, and then somehow transport it down the narrow tunnels to its final position. A 500-kilogram disc of stone does not move easily through passages designed for single-file foot traffic. The logistics of getting the doors into place are almost as impressive as the doors themselves. Each door sits in a precisely carved channel in the floor and the doorframe. The channel acts as a track, guiding the door as it rolls from its resting position in the wall recess to its closed position across the corridor. The fit is exact. There is barely any gap between the edge of the door and the surrounding stone. An invader trying to insert a lever or a pry bar into the gap would find nothing to grip. The door sits flush, sealed, impregnable. And here is the crucial detail. The doors can only be operated from the inside, only from the side of the defenders. A hole is carved through the center of each door, just large enough to admit a hand or a small tool, allowing the defenders to secure the door with a locking mechanism from within. But the hole is too small for an arm to reach through and operate the lock from the other side. The doors are one-way defenses. They protect those behind them. They imprison those in front of them. An invader who descends into the tunnels and encounters a sealed rolling stone door has no choice but to retreat. The passage is closed. The city is sealed. The people within are safe. The layout of Derinkuyu is a masterwork of defensive planning. The tunnels are narrow, deliberately narrow. Many of the passages are barely wide enough for one person to pass at a time. This is not a design flaw. This is the design. An invading army, no matter how large, is reduced to single file in these tunnels. Their numbers are meaningless. Their weapons are useless, too tight to swing a sword, too low to draw a bow. One defender in a narrow tunnel is the equal of 100 attackers. The architecture itself is a weapon. The ceilings are low in many passages. You must stoop, you must bend, you must make yourself small to move through these spaces. Again, this is deliberate. A defender who knows the tunnels can move quickly through them, ducking at the right places, turning at the right junctions. An attacker unfamiliar with the layout stumbles, bangs his head, gets lost. The darkness confuses him. The turns disorient him. He does not know if the passage ahead leads deeper into the city or into a dead end. He does not know if defenders are waiting around the next corner. The tunnels are a trap, a maze designed to confuse and delay and exhaust anyone who enters without permission. The stairways between levels are particularly clever. They are steep and narrow, often with irregular steps that make descent difficult for someone unfamiliar with them. They twist and turn so that an attacker descending from above cannot see what lies below, and they can be sealed with rolling stone doors at multiple points. An invader who manages to reach a stairway and begins to descend finds himself funneled into an increasingly tight and dark and disorienting passage. Not knowing where the next sealed door will block his way, not knowing where the next defender waits in the shadows. Some passages are said to have been equipped with additional defenses, holes in the ceiling through which boiling oil or hot water could be poured onto invaders below, narrow slits in the walls through which defenders could thrust spears. Whether all of these features existed at Derinkuyu specifically is debated by scholars, but they were certainly used in other underground complexes in Cappadocia. The principle is the same everywhere. The tunnels are designed to kill invaders. They are designed to make any attack so costly, so dangerous, so futile, that the wisest course for an enemy is simply to leave. Let your mind wander through these tunnels now, not as an invader, as a visitor, as a guest of the stone. Imagine the cool air on your skin, the faint echo of your footsteps, the smooth, carved walls beneath your fingertips, the gentle slope of the floor as it descends, level by level, deeper into the earth. The first level is the shallowest. The ceiling is higher here, the rooms are larger. This is where the stables were. Yes, stables. The people of Derinkuyu brought their animals underground with them. Horses, donkeys, goats, sheep, even cattle. The stables are on the first and second levels, close to the surface, where ventilation is best and where the animals could be brought in and out with relative ease. The decision to bring animals underground was both practical and emotional. Practical because the animals were wealth. A farmer's livestock represented his livelihood, his investment, his security. To leave animals on the surface was to lose them to the raiders, and to lose them was to face ruin, but emotional too. The people of Cappadocia were farmers. They knew their animals. They had raised them from birth. The goats had names. The donkey was part of the family. The bond between a Cappadocian farmer and his animals was intimate and unbreakable. And when the time came to go underground, the animals went too, not as an afterthought, as a priority. The stables on the first level are surprisingly spacious. The ceilings are higher here than on any other level, to accommodate the larger animals, the horses and the cattle. The ventilation is better too. The proximity to the surface ensures good air flow, which was essential for the health of the animals and for managing the smell of a large number of livestock in an enclosed space. The walls of the stables still show the carved troughs where feed was placed, the stone mangers, the rings carved into the walls where animals were tethered. You can close your eyes and imagine the sound of it, the shifting of hooves on stone, the soft huffing of horses in the dark, the gentle bleating of goats echoing down the corridors, the smell of hay and warm animal bodies, and the faint, earthy musk of a stable. Familiar smells, comforting smells, the smells of a farm brought underground. The second and third levels housed the living quarters, rooms carved from the rock, small by modern standards, but adequate. A family would occupy a chamber perhaps 3 meters by 4 meters, with a low ceiling that you could almost touch if you raised your hand. The beds were stone platforms carved from the floor, raised slightly above the cold ground, and covered with blankets and animal skins. There were niches carved into the walls for oil lamps, whose flickering light would have been the only illumination in these rooms. Small shelves for personal belongings, hooks carved into the stone for hanging clothing. Imagine lying on one of these stone beds. The blankets beneath you are thick and warm. The rock above you is close, but not oppressive. The air is cool and fresh, circulating gently from the ventilation shafts. The temperature is 13 degrees, always 13 degrees, the same in summer as in winter. the same at noon as at midnight. Outside, on the surface, the Anatolian summer might be 40 degrees, the winter might be -20, but here, in the underground city, the temperature never changes. The earth holds you at 13 degrees. It wraps around you, it regulates, it protects. The darkness is absolute when the lamps are extinguished. There is no ambient light in an underground city, no moonlight filtering through a window, no starlight seeping through a crack. When the last lamp is blown out, the darkness is total, complete, a darkness that your eyes cannot adjust to because there is nothing to adjust to. And in that darkness, the sounds change. You hear things you would never hear on the surface, the drip of water somewhere far below, the faint whisper of air moving through a ventilation shaft, the settling of stone, the deep, profound, geological silence of the earth itself. Deeper still, the 4th and 5th levels held the storage rooms, and this was the heart of the city's survival. Without adequate stores, 20,000 people could not survive underground for any length of time. The storage chambers are numerous and large, carved deep into the tuff. They are cool and dry and dark, perfect conditions for preserving food. Grain was stored in large ceramic jars sealed with clay stoppers. Oil pressed from olives and sesame was stored in similar vessels. Wine was stored in stone-carved vats. Dried fruit, salted meat, cheese, beans, lentils. The underground pantries of Derinkuyu could sustain the entire population for months. There were wine presses on the upper levels, actual wine presses carved from the rock, with channels for the juice to flow into collection basins below. Grapes were brought underground and pressed in situ, the wine stored in the cool chambers where it would keep indefinitely. Oil presses worked on the same principle. Olives were crushed in stone basins. The oil collected and stored for cooking and for fuel for the oil lamps that lit the underground corridors. The economy of the underground city was remarkably self-contained. It was designed for extended occupation, designed for siege, designed for the scenario that every inhabitant feared, the scenario in which the enemy arrived without warning and the surface had to be abandoned and the entire population had to retreat into the earth and seal the doors and wait. Wait for days, wait for weeks, wait for however long it took for the danger to pass. The middle levels, roughly the 5th through the 8th floors, contain the communal spaces, meeting rooms where the community's leaders would gather to discuss strategy and allocate resources. A large cruciform church on the 7th level, with a barrel-vaulted ceiling nearly 3 meters high, the tallest space in the entire underground complex. This church could hold several hundred worshippers. It has a nave and side aisles and an apse carved from the rock, a miniature cathedral buried in the earth. A place where faith was practiced in the most literal possible shelter. There were schools, rooms where children were taught, even in the darkness of the underground. The children of Derinkuyu did not stop learning because they had been driven below the surface. Life continued underground. Lessons were given, stories were told. The knowledge of the community was passed from one generation to the next. Even in the most desperate circumstances, education was considered essential. The survival of the body was not enough. The survival of the mind mattered too. And there were kitchens, communal cooking areas with carved stone surfaces and channels for smoke to be directed upward through the ventilation shafts. The smoke management was critical, both for the health of the inhabitants and for concealment. Smoke rising from the surface would betray the presence of people underground. The ventilation system was designed to disperse the smoke, to break it up, to release it in such small quantities over such a wide area that it would be undetectable from above. Take a breath now. A slow, deep breath. Let it fill you the way the cool underground air fills the corridors of Derinkuyu, gently, completely, reaching every corner. And let it go. Let it leave you the way the smoke leaves the underground kitchen, rising, dispersing, dissolving into nothing. You are deeper now, deeper in the story, deeper in the night, deeper in the slow, warm, heavy drift towards sleep, and that is exactly where you should be. The lower levels of Derinkuyu, the 9th through the 18th floors, are the most mysterious. Many of them are still being excavated, many are flooded or blocked. The full extent of the underground city is not yet known. Archaeologists believe that what has been explored represents perhaps 10% of the total complex. The city may extend further than anyone has yet mapped. What is known about the lower levels is that they were used primarily for deep storage and as a last refuge. If the upper levels were breached, if an invader somehow fought his way past the rolling stone doors and the narrow tunnels and the defensive traps of the upper city, the population could retreat deeper still, level after level of sealed doors, level after level of narrow, twisting, disorienting passages. The deeper you go, the harder it becomes to attack. The deeper you go, the safer you are. At the very deepest explored level, roughly 55 meters below the surface, there are chambers that some scholars believe may have served a ritual purpose, a place of last resort, a holy of holies deep in the earth where the most sacred objects of the community would be kept, and where the community's spiritual leaders would pray for deliverance. 55 meters. It is hard to grasp the depth. Stand at the bottom of an 18-story building and look up at the roof. That is how far above you the surface would be if you stood at the bottom of Derinkuyu. 18 stories of solid rock between you and the sky. 18 stories of carved tunnels and chambers and stairways and rolling stone doors. An entire world between you and the world above. And then there is the tunnel that stretches from Derinkuyu to the neighboring underground city of Kaymakli, approximately 8 kilometers to the north. 8 kilometers underground through the rock. The existence of this tunnel is well documented, though much of it has collapsed or been blocked over the centuries and has not been fully explored. But the principle is extraordinary. 2 entire underground cities, each capable of housing thousands of people, connected by a subterranean passage that allowed movement between them without ever surfacing. People could travel from one city to the other entirely underground, invisible to any enemy on the surface. Supplies could be transferred. Messages could be sent. Populations could be redistributed. If one city was under siege, its inhabitants could potentially escape to the other through the tunnel, emerging 8 kilometers away from the danger. The logistics of carving an 8-kilometer tunnel through rock are staggering. The tunnel would have been carved from both ends simultaneously, with teams working towards each other in the dark. The engineering precision required to ensure that the 2 tunnels met in the middle, deep underground, without GPS or laser levels or any of the surveying technology we take for granted, is remarkable. It speaks to a level of skill and knowledge and experience that was accumulated over centuries of underground construction. The tunnel to Kaymakli would have served multiple purposes beyond emergency evacuation. In peacetime, it would have facilitated trade and communication between the 2 communities. Goods could be moved between the cities without being exposed to the weather or to bandits on the surface roads. In wartime, it would have allowed the 2 underground populations to coordinate their defenses. to share intelligence about enemy movements, to redistribute resources from a city that had abundance to one that was running low. The tunnel was a lifeline, a subterranean highway connecting two nodes of a hidden civilization. Not all scholars agree that the tunnel was a single continuous passage. Some suggest it may have consisted of a series of connected underground spaces, caves and cellars and passages that were linked together over time, rather than a purpose-built tunnel carved from end to end. The distinction matters less than the result. Two underground cities, 8 kilometers apart, connected below the surface, invisible from above. Kaymakli itself is another vast underground complex, 8 levels deep, with its own ventilation shafts and water wells and rolling stone doors. It is the second largest underground city in Cappadocia after Derinkuyu, and it was connected to Derinkuyu by this extraordinary underground highway. The two cities formed a network, a system of mutual support, an underground civilization. The centuries turned. The Roman Empire adopted Christianity in the 4th century under Constantine. The persecutions ended. The Christians of Cappadocia could worship openly. They built churches on the surface. They carved the magnificent frescoed cave churches of Gorm and the other Cappadocian valleys. The underground cities were no longer needed as refuges from religious persecution. But the need for refuge did not disappear. It merely changed its source. In the 7th century, the armies of the Arab caliphates swept across the Middle East and into Anatolia. The Byzantine Empire, the eastern continuation of Rome, found itself under relentless attack. The frontier between the Christian Byzantines and the Muslim Arabs ran through eastern Anatolia, and Cappadocia was dangerously close to the front lines. The Byzantine period was one of the most turbulent in the history of Anatolia. The Eastern Roman Empire was powerful, but it was surrounded by enemies. The Sassanid Persians attacked from the east, the Slavs and Avars pressed from the north, and then, in the 7th century, came the armies of Islam. The Arab conquests transformed the political map of the Middle East with astonishing speed. Within a few decades of the Prophet Muhammad's death in 632, Arab armies had conquered Syria, Egypt, Persia, and much of North Africa. Anatolia was next. The Arab raids were devastating. Swift-moving cavalry forces would sweep across the border, burn villages, seize livestock and grain, carry off captives as slaves, and then retreat before the Byzantine army could respond. These raids happened year after year, decade after decade. For nearly 3 centuries, the people of Cappadocia lived under the constant threat of sudden, violent attack. And so they returned underground. The underground cities that had sheltered the early Christians were reopened, expanded, improved, new levels were added, new defenses were installed, the rolling stone doors were reinforced, the ventilation shafts were maintained. Derinkuyu entered what may have been its greatest period of use, a period when the entire population of the surrounding area would descend into the earth at the first sign of an Arab raiding party, taking their animals and their grain and their valuables with them, sealing the doors behind them, and waiting in the cool, dark silence until the danger had passed. The Byzantine military sometimes used the underground cities as well. There are accounts of small garrisons being stationed in the upper levels, ready to emerge and harass the enemy or to provide intelligence to the main Byzantine forces. The cities served as forward observation posts, hidden in plain sight, invisible from the surface, allowing the Byzantines to maintain a presence in territory that was otherwise too dangerous to occupy. Imagine the scene, a warm Anatolian evening, the sun setting behind the fairy Chimneys, a farmer working in his vineyard on the surface, and then a shout, a warning, dust on the horizon, riders approaching from the east. The word spreads instantly, everyone knows what to do, they have rehearsed this, they have done this before, many times. The farmer drops his tools, he calls to his family, his wife gathers the children, his eldest son runs to the stable to collect the donkey and the goats, neighbors emerge from their houses, everyone is moving, everyone is calm, this is not panic, this is drill, this is muscle memory, this is survival. They converge on the entrance to the underground city. The entrance is unremarkable, a doorway in a hillside, or a passage beneath a house, or a stairway that descends from a courtyard that looks like any other courtyard. The animals go first, down the ramps into the first level. The goats bleat in protest. The donkey brays, but they go, they know this route. They have been here before too. The people follow, families with bundles of possessions, old women leaning on their daughters, children carried on their fathers' shoulders. They descend into the earth in a steady, ordered stream, level by level, passage by passage. Each family knows its assigned chamber. Each family knows where to go. The community has planned for this. Every eventuality has been considered. Every person has a place. And then, when the last person has descended, when the last goat has been led down the ramp, when the surface has been vacated and the evidence of habitation hidden as best it can, the rolling stone doors are closed, one by one, level by level. The great stone discs roll across the corridors and lock into place with a sound like a tomb ceiling. The underground city is shut. The people are inside. The world above is abandoned to the raiders. And above, the raiders arrive, they find nothing, empty houses, abandoned fields, no people, no animals, no grain in the storerooms, no valuables. The village appears to have been deserted long ago. The raiders search. They break down doors, they dig in gardens. They look for the hidden granaries and cellars that they know must exist. But they find nothing of value. The people have vanished. The wealth has vanished. The village is a shell, a husk, an empty stage set. The ventilation shafts are hidden. The entrances are concealed. The underground city is invisible. 20,000 people are breathing, eating, praying, living, 55 meters below the feet of the raiders who are searching for them. The irony is almost unbearable. The prey is directly beneath the predator, separated by nothing but stone. But that stone is enough. That stone is everything. The raiders move on. They have other targets, other villages to raid. They cannot waste time searching for a population that has apparently fled, and so they leave. And when they have gone, when the scouts sent to watch from hidden positions on the hilltops report that the dust of the riders has settled and the horizon is clear, the rolling stone doors open, one by one, level by level, and the people of Derinkuyu emerge into the sunlight, blinking, stretching, leading their goats and their donkeys back up the ramps to the surface, returning to their houses and their fields and their vineyards, resuming their lives. Until the next time. This pattern, this rhythm of descent and emergence, of hiding and returning, shaped the character of the Cappadocian people for centuries. They became experts in disappearance. They developed systems of lookouts and signals, watchers posted on hilltops who could see the dust of approaching raiders from miles away. They rehearsed the evacuation procedure until it was second nature, until every family knew exactly where to go and what to carry and how long it would take to seal the last door. They stored grain underground in quantities far exceeding what they might need for a few days. Because they had learned that a siege could last weeks, they maintained the underground infrastructure with the same care that surface dwellers maintain their roofs and their walls, cleaning the ventilation shafts, checking the rolling stone doors, ensuring that the water wells were clear and the storage chambers were dry. Life in Cappadocia during the Byzantine period was a life lived between two worlds: the surface world of sun and wind and open sky, of vineyards and orchards and fields, of the normal rhythms of agricultural life, and the underground world of stone and silence and darkness, of sealed doors and narrow tunnels, and the constant awareness that the enemy might come at any time. The Cappadocians did not choose between these worlds. They inhabited both. They moved between them as the circumstances demanded. Surface and underground, light and dark, open and sealed, two modes of existence, alternating like the seasons, like breathing in and breathing out. The Seljuk Turks arrived in Anatolia in the 11th century. After their decisive victory at the Battle of Manzikert in 1071, they swept across the plateau and established their own civilization in the heart of what had been Byzantine territory. The Seljuks were Muslims, but they were remarkably tolerant of the Christian communities they governed. Churches continued to function, monasteries continued to operate, and the underground cities continued to serve their purpose. Though perhaps less frequently than in the dangerous centuries of the Arab raids. The Ottoman period brought new inhabitants to Cappadocia. After the Seljuk Turks conquered Anatolia in the 11th century, and the Ottoman Empire rose to power in the 14th century, the Greek Christian communities that had lived in Cappadocia for centuries found themselves living under Muslim rule. They were protected as dhimmi, people of the book, allowed to practice their religion, but subject to certain taxes and restrictions. These Greek Christian communities continued to use the underground cities, not as permanent dwellings, but as refuges in times of unrest, as storage facilities, as places of worship. The churches deep beneath the earth continued to hold services. The candles continued to burn. The prayers continued to rise through the ventilation shafts like invisible incense. The Greek Christians of Cappadocia lived in this region for centuries under Ottoman rule. They developed a unique culture that blended Greek and Turkish elements. They spoke a dialect of Greek called Karamanli, but wrote it in the Turkish alphabet. They built distinctive houses with carved stone facades. They maintained their churches and their monasteries, and they kept the underground cities in use, maintained them, repaired the ventilation shafts, cleared the corridors of debris, kept the rolling stone doors operational. The relationship between the Greek Christians and their Turkish Muslim neighbors was complex and layered. In some periods it was harmonious, marked by mutual respect and shared economic interests. In others, it was strained by religious tensions and political upheavals, but through it all, the underground cities remained. They were part of the landscape, part of the community's identity, part of the deep, unspoken knowledge that the people of Cappadocia carried with them. The knowledge that the earth could shelter them, that the stone could save them, that safety lay not in walls or armies, but in depth, in disappearance, in the quiet, stubborn refusal to be found. The Greek Christians also used the underground spaces for more mundane purposes: wine cellars, cheese stores, root cellars for vegetables. The constant temperature of the underground chambers made them ideal for food preservation, and the tradition of underground storage continued long after the threat of raids had diminished. The underground city was not only a fortress, it was a pantry, a wine cave, a larder, the most elaborate and most effective food storage system in the ancient world. This continued until 1923, when the Republic of Turkey was established after the fall of the Ottoman Empire. A population exchange was agreed between Greece and Turkey. The Greek Christians of Cappadocia were forced to leave. They were deported to Greece, uprooted from a homeland their ancestors had inhabited for more than 2,000 years. They left behind their houses, their churches, their vineyards, and their underground cities. The newcomers who replaced them, Muslim Turks from other regions, did not know the underground cities existed. The entrances had been sealed or disguised. The knowledge of how to find them and how to navigate them had left with the Greek Christians. Derinkuyu was forgotten, hidden in plain sight, buried beneath the earth and buried in memory. Until 1963. The story of Derinkuyu's modern rediscovery is one of the most delightful in all of archaeology. A man was renovating his home, an ordinary man in an ordinary house in the town of Derinkuyu. He was knocking down a wall, perhaps widening a room, perhaps creating a doorway. The details vary depending on who tells the story, but the essential fact is the same. He knocked a hole in his wall, and behind it was a room. Not a closet, not a crawl space. A room, a carved stone room, with smooth walls and a level floor and a ceiling cut from the living rock. A room that he did not know existed. A room that no one in the town knew existed. And beyond the room, a passage, a tunnel leading downward into the dark. He must have stood there for a long time, staring into the hole in his wall, staring into the darkness beyond, feeling the cool air flowing from the underground space into his home, smelling that particular smell of underground places, the mineral smell of wet stone and still air and deep, undisturbed earth. What he had found was the entrance to the underground city of Derinkuyu, the city that had been built and expanded over thousands of years by Hittites and Phrygians and early Christians and Byzantines and Greek Christians. The city that had sheltered 20,000 people from Arab raiders and Persian invaders and Roman soldiers. The city that had been sealed and forgotten when the Greek Christians were deported in 1923. It was all still there. The corridors, the chambers, the rolling stone doors, the ventilation shafts, the wine presses, the stables, the churches, all of it, waiting in the dark, patient as stone. The Turkish authorities were called, archaeologists arrived, and the slow, painstaking work of excavation and exploration began. What they found exceeded all expectations, level after level, room after room, passage after passage, deeper and deeper into the earth. The underground city was not just large, it was vast. It was one of the most extensive underground structures ever discovered. The discovery sent waves of excitement through the archaeological community. Here was an underground complex of extraordinary size and sophistication, sealed for 40 years, essentially untouched since its last inhabitants departed. The corridors were intact. The rolling stone doors were in their recesses. The ventilation shafts were open. Even some of the clay vessels used for storage were still in place, sitting on carved stone shelves where they had been left 4 decades earlier. The excavation proceeded slowly and carefully. Each level had to be cleared of debris. Each tunnel had to be assessed for structural stability. The deeper levels presented particular challenges. Some were partially flooded, others had been blocked by rock falls. The work continues to this day. New chambers are still being discovered. New passages are still being mapped. the underground city has not yet revealed all of its secrets. The news spread. Derinkuyu became famous. Tourists began to arrive, and the underground city that had been hidden for 40 years, that had been hidden in one form or another for thousands of years, was finally revealed to the world. Let yourself be here now. Let yourself stand at the entrance to the underground city in the warm Anatolian evening and look down into the carved stone stairway that descends into the earth. The stairs are smooth, worn by countless feet over countless centuries. The stone is pale, almost white in the lamplight, and cool to the touch. You descend one step at a time. The ceiling lowers, the walls narrow, the temperature drops, the sounds of the surface, the wind, the birds, the distant traffic of the modern town fade and then vanish. They are replaced by silence, by the deep, profound, geological silence of the underground. The air is cool, 13 degrees. You can feel it on your skin, on the backs of your hands, on your cheeks. It is not cold, it is pleasant. It is the temperature of a wine cellar, the temperature of a cave, the temperature that the earth maintains at this depth regardless of the season, a constant, a certainty, as reliable as gravity. The corridors are narrow. You must walk single file in places. The ceiling is low enough that taller visitors must duck. The light is dim, electric now, but imagine it with oil lamps. Imagine the flickering orange glow on the pale stone walls. Imagine the shadows leaping and dancing as the flame gutters in the faint draft from the ventilation shafts. Imagine the sound of your own breathing amplified by the rock, made louder, made more present, in this space where there is nothing else to hear. You pass through a doorway and you see a rolling stone door in its recess. It is enormous, a great disk of dark stone, andesite, harder and denser than the surrounding tuff. Its surface is rough. Its edges are worn. It has been rolled back and forth across this corridor hundreds of times over the centuries, perhaps thousands. You place your hand on it. It is cool and heavy and immovable. You push against it experimentally and it does not budge. 500 kilograms of stone. The weight of 5 large men, and yet, with the right leverage, in the right groove, on the right surface, one person could roll it into position and seal the corridor against an army. You descend deeper, level by level. The stairways are steep and narrow, carved into the rock in tight, spiraling descents that turn and turn again. You keep one hand on the wall. The stone is smooth and slightly damp, not wet, but cool enough to condense the faintest film of moisture from the air. It is the closest thing to a handrail that the underground city provides. On the 5th level, you find a wine press, a shallow basin carved into the floor with a channel that leads to a deeper collection basin below. You can see where the grapes were placed. You can see where the juice flowed. You can see the stone trough where it collected. 2,000 years ago, someone stood here barefoot in this stone basin and pressed grapes with their feet. The juice ran down the channel. The wine was stored in clay jars in the cool chambers nearby, and life underground went on. On the 6th level, there are more storage rooms and something else, a room that scholars believe served as a communal meeting hall. It is larger than the living quarters, perhaps 6 meters by 8 meters, with a ceiling that rises to just over 2 meters. Stone benches line the walls. There is a sense of purpose in this room, a sense of formality. This is where the community's elders would have gathered to make decisions: how long to remain underground, how to distribute food and water, how to resolve disputes in the close and stressful conditions of extended underground living, how to maintain morale, how to keep children occupied and calm, how to care for the sick and the elderly in a place with no natural light and no fresh air beyond what the ventilation shafts provided. The social organization of the underground community must have been remarkable. 20,000 people in an enclosed space, for weeks or months at a time, with limited food, limited water, limited light, limited privacy. The potential for conflict was enormous, for panic, for hoarding, for the kind of selfish, desperate behavior that crisis brings out in people. And yet, the evidence suggests that the communities of Derinkuyu functioned, that they held together, that the social fabric did not tear. This speaks to a level of communal discipline and mutual trust that is profoundly impressive. These were not strangers thrown together by chance. They were neighbors, extended families, people who had worked the fields together and worshipped together and raised their children together on the surface, and who now shared the darkness together underground. On the 7th level, you find the church. It is the largest single space in the entire complex. The ceiling is high, for underground, nearly 3 meters. The floor plan is cruciform, the apse is rounded. There is a stone altar. There are niches in the walls where candles would have burned, and where icons may have been placed. Stand in this church, close your eyes, listen. There is nothing to hear, nothing at all. The silence is so complete that you can hear the blood moving in your own ears. You can hear the faint, high-pitched hum that your nervous system generates in the absence of external sound. This is the quietest place you have ever been. This is the silence of the deep earth, the silence of stone that has not heard a sound for 40 years, for 100 years, for 1,000 years, the silence that was here before the church was carved, and will be here long after it has crumbled back into the rock from which it came. And yet, this space was not always silent. This space was filled with voices, with chanting, with prayer, with the quiet, desperate, beautiful sounds of people worshipping their God in a hidden church deep beneath the earth, while enemies searched for them on the surface above. The walls absorbed those sounds. The stone holds them still. If you press your ear to the rock, you hear nothing, but the prayers are there. They are woven into the mineral structure of the stone itself. They are part of the tuff, part of the earth, part of the deep, silent, permanent record of human faiths. Breathe now slowly. Let the underground air fill your lungs. Let it cool you. Let it calm you. Let it settle you the way the earth settles around the tunnels of Derinkuyu, gently, completely, holding everything in place. Your body is heavy. Your limbs are warm under the covers. Your eyes are closed or closing. The muscles of your face are soft. Your forehead is smooth. The small creases around your eyes have relaxed. Your jaw hangs slightly open. Your tongue is still. You are safe. You are held. You are as deep in your bed as Derinkuyu is deep in the earth. And the story continues, quietly, steadily, like the constant temperature of the underground city, unchanging, reliable, carrying you deeper. The engineering of Derinkuyu continues to astonish modern specialists. How did they prevent cave-ins? How did they know how much rock to leave as ceiling and walls? How did they calculate the load-bearing capacity of the tuff at different depths? The answer lies partly in experience, centuries of experience. The people of Cappadocia had been carving underground spaces for thousands of years before Derinkuyu reached its full extent. They knew the stone intimately. They knew its strengths and its weaknesses. They knew where it was safe to carve and where it was not. They knew how thick a pillar needed to be to support a ceiling. They knew how wide a corridor could be before the roof became unstable. This knowledge was not written down. It was not taught in engineering schools. It was passed from master to apprentice, from father to son, from generation to generation, in the form of practical wisdom accumulated over millennia. The tuff helped. Its properties are remarkably consistent, unlike many types of rock, which vary in density and strength from one layer to the next. Ignimbrite tuff is relatively uniform. A builder who knows how the rock behaves at one depth can predict how it will behave at another. This consistency allowed the builders of Derinkuyu to work with confidence, to push deeper, to carve larger chambers, to create spaces that would remain stable for centuries. The pillars that support the underground chambers are not an afterthought. They are part of the original design, left in place as the surrounding rock was excavated. They carry the weight of the earth above and distribute it to the floor below. Some of them are enormous, solid cylinders of tuff that look like the columns of an ancient temple. Others are smaller, slender supports that divide large chambers into smaller sections. All of them are essential. Remove one, and the ceiling might collapse. They are the bones of the underground city, the skeleton that holds it all together. The temperature regulation deserves special attention. 13 degrees Celsius, year-round. This seems miraculous in a region where surface temperatures can range from -20 in winter to +40 in summer. But it is not miraculous, it is physics. The Earth is an insulator. Below a certain depth, typically a few meters, the temperature of the soil and rock reaches a point of equilibrium that is largely unaffected by surface conditions. This is the mean annual temperature of the region, averaged over the seasons, smoothed by the enormous thermal mass of the Earth. In Cappadocia, that equilibrium temperature is approximately 13 degrees. At Derinkuyu, the inhabitants lived below this threshold. They were surrounded on all sides by rock that maintained a constant temperature. No heating was needed, no cooling. The earth provided both. In winter, when the surface was frozen and the wind howled across the plateau, the underground city was warm. 13 degrees is not exactly cozy by modern standards, but with warm clothing and blankets and the body heat of thousands of people and their animals in an enclosed space. It was survivable. In summer, when the surface baked under the Anatolian sun, the underground city was cool, a refuge from the heat as well as from human enemies. There are more than 200 known underground settlements in Cappadocia. This number is extraordinary, 200, and those are only the ones that have been found. Scholars believe there may be many more, still sealed, still hidden, still waiting to be discovered by some homeowner knocking a hole in a wall or some farmer digging a well. The larger underground cities form a network. Derinkuyu, Kaymakli, Volcanic, Mazi, Tatlarin, each one is unique in its layout and its size, but all share the same fundamental principles: narrow defensive tunnels, rolling stone doors, ventilation shafts, storage chambers, water wells. They were built by the same tradition, the same accumulated knowledge, the same people or their descendants, generation after generation, century after century. Some of the smaller underground settlements are just a few rooms beneath a house, barely a cellar. Others are extensive enough to house several hundred people. The scale varies enormously, but the principle is always the same. When danger comes, go underground, seal the doors, wait, survive. It is a principle as old as human civilization itself. Animals dig burrows, foxes have dens, rabbits have warrens. The instinct to seek shelter underground is primal. What makes Cappadocia unique is the scale, the ambition, the transformation of that primal instinct into an engineering achievement that rivals anything on the surface. There is a particular quality to the air in the underground city that deserves attention. It is not stale. This surprises visitors. They expect the air underground to be musty, heavy, difficult to breathe. They expect the atmosphere of a sealed basement or an unventilated cellar. But the air in Derinkuyu is fresh. It moves, not with any force that you can feel on your skin, but with a gentle, persistent circulation that draws fresh air in from the surface through the ventilation shafts and pushes stale air out through others. The shafts work on the principle of convection, warm air rising through some shafts and drawing cool air down through others, creating a natural circulation that requires no mechanical assistance. The underground city breathes. It has been breathing for thousands of years, and the breath is clean. There is also a particular quality to the light, or rather, to the absence of light, when the electric bulbs installed for tourists are switched off, when the last lamp is extinguished. The darkness in Derinkuyu is total. This is not the darkness of a bedroom with the curtains drawn, where light seeps around the edges and the shapes of furniture gradually emerge as your eyes adjust. This is the darkness of the deep earth. A darkness that your eyes can never adjust to because there are no photons to adjust to. It is the absence of light in the most literal and absolute sense. Stand in that darkness for a minute, for 2 minutes, for 5, and you will understand something about darkness that you have never understood before. You will understand that it has a presence, a weight, a texture. It presses against your eyes. It fills the space like water filling a vessel. It is not empty, it is full of nothing. And that nothing is something vast and ancient and profoundly, almost physically comforting. The modern experience of visiting Derinkuyu is both thrilling and claustrophobic. Tourists descend through the narrow passages, single file, stooping under the low ceilings, squeezing through doorways that were designed to admit one person at a time. The electric lights illuminate carved chambers that have been in darkness for decades or centuries. The stone walls are cool to the touch. The air is fresh, surprisingly fresh, thanks to the ventilation shafts that still function after thousands of years. Most tourists visit only the first few levels. The deeper levels are restricted, either because they are still being excavated or because they are considered unsafe for the public. But even the upper levels are enough to convey the scale and the ingenuity of the place. You stand in a storage chamber and you see the marks of chisels on the walls, the tool marks of builders who worked here 2,000 years ago. You stand in the church and you see the apse and the altar and the niches for candles. You stand at a rolling stone door and you feel its weight and its solidity, and you understand, viscerally, physically, what it meant to be able to seal yourself inside the earth. The claustrophobia is real, even in the lit and maintained tourist areas. The sense of being underground, of being enclosed, of having millions of tons of rock above your head is palpable. The passages are tight, the ceilings are low, the turns are frequent. You cannot see far in any direction. The earth is close, it presses in on all sides. And yet there is something else, something unexpected, a sense of safety, of shelter, of being held by the earth the way a child is held by a parent's arms. The same stone that presses in also protects. The same narrowness that confines also defends. The underground city is not a prison. It is a refuge. It is a place of safety in a dangerous world. And the people who lived here, who spent weeks or months in these chambers, did not experience claustrophobia. They experienced relief. They experienced gratitude. They experienced the profound, bone-deep comfort of knowing that they were hidden, that they were safe, that the stone doors were sealed and the ventilation shafts were working and the water was clean, and the grain stores were full, and the enemy could not reach them. The underground was not a curse, it was a gift of the stone, a gift of the ancient volcanoes that created the Tuff, a gift of the builders who carved the tunnels, a gift of the earth itself, which opened up and took them in and held them safe in its cool, dark, permanent embrace. Let yourself feel that embrace now. Let the earth hold you, not literally, not the stone of Derinkuyu, but the warmth and weight and softness of your bed. Your covers are your stone doors, sealing out the world. Your pillow is your carved stone ledge, supporting your head. Your breathing is your ventilation shaft, steady and reliable, bringing you what you need, carrying away what you don't. You are underground now, not in Derinkuyu, but in the underground of sleep, the surface world, with its noise and its light and its demands, is far above you. You have descended, level by level, breath by breath. You are deep now, deep and safe and warm and still. The story of Derinkuyu does not end with its rediscovery in 1963. In the decades since, archaeologists and engineers have continued to study the underground city. New sections have been excavated, new tunnels have been mapped, new chambers have been revealed. The picture grows more complex with each passing year. Derinkuyu was opened to the public as a museum in 1969, just 6 years after its rediscovery. Visitors can now descend to a depth of approximately 40 meters through 8 of the 18 known levels. The remaining levels are closed to the public, either because they have not been fully excavated or because they are considered structurally fragile. But even the accessible portion of the underground city is enough to leave a profound impression. The narrow tunnels, the carved chambers, the massive rolling stone doors in their grooves, the ventilation shafts disappearing into darkness above and below, the church with its barrel-vaulted ceiling, the wine press, the stables. Each room tells its own story. Each corridor leads to another revelation. The Turkish government has designated Derinkuyu and the other major underground cities as protected cultural heritage sites. International organizations, including UNESCO, have expressed interest in adding the Cappadocian underground cities to the World Heritage List, recognizing them as one of the most significant archaeological complexes on Earth. In 2014, during construction work in the nearby town of Nevşehir, another enormous underground city was discovered. Early estimates suggested it might be even larger than Derinkuyu, potentially the biggest underground city ever found. The site is still being excavated. The full extent is not yet known, but it serves as a reminder that Cappadocia has not yet revealed all of its secrets. There are more cities down there, more tunnels, more chambers, more rolling stone doors waiting in the dark. The preservation of these sites presents unique challenges. The tuff that is so easy to carve is also vulnerable to erosion. Water infiltration can weaken the rock. Vibrations from traffic and construction on the surface can cause instability. The delicate balance between allowing public access and protecting the underground structures is a constant concern. Too many visitors, too much moisture from their breath, too much wear on the ancient floors. The same stone that has survived for thousands of years can be damaged in decades by the pressures of modern tourism. Conservation efforts are ongoing. Ventilation systems are monitored and maintained. Drainage is improved. Access is controlled. The goal is to ensure that Derinkuyu survives for another 1,000 years, and another, so that future generations can stand where you are standing now, in the cool, carved corridors of the underground city and feel the same awe, the same wonder. The same deep, quiet recognition that human beings are capable of extraordinary things when their survival depends upon it. You are very deep now, very close to sleep. You can feel it pressing against you like the walls of a narrow tunnel, not confining but guiding, not crushing but holding, directing you gently and steadily towards the deep, quiet darkness at the center of the night. The tunnels of Derinkuyu twist and turn through the rock, and the story twists and turns through the centuries, and the path to sleep twists and turns through the quiet spaces of your mind, all of them leading the same way, all of them leading down, into the dark, into the safe, into the still. Think about the builders, not the kings or the generals who ordered the construction, not the archaeologists who uncovered the ruins, the builders, the men and women who spent their lives carving stone in the dark. They worked by lamplight, small clay oil lamps that cast a flickering, orange glow across the pale walls. The light would have been barely sufficient to see by. The shadows would have been deep and shifting. The work would have been slow and painstaking. Strike the chisel, listen to the ring of iron on stone, feel the tuff give way beneath the blade, brush away the dust, strike again. The dust would have been terrible, fine volcanic dust, silica and aluminium and other minerals ground to powder by the action of chisel on rock. It would have filled the air. It would have coated their skin and their clothing and their hair. It would have worked its way into their lungs with every breath. There were no masks, no dust extraction systems, no occupational health regulations, just the dust, and the dark, and the endless, repetitive, grinding labor of turning rock into space. They worked in teams, they must have. The rock that was removed from each chamber had to be carried out, up the narrow stairways, through the tunnels, to the surface or to a disposal area on an upper level. This was back-breaking work. Baskets of stone fragments, heavy and sharp-edged, passed from hand to hand in a human chain. The spoil from the deepest levels had to travel the farthest, up 18 stories of narrow, steep, spiraling stairways. The amount of rock removed from Derinkuyu over the centuries is staggering. Tens of thousands of cubic meters, hundreds of thousands of tons, all of it removed by hand, all of it carried up and out in baskets and on shoulders. Where did it all go? Unlike the spoil heaps of surface quarries, there are no obvious piles of discarded tuff around Derinkuyu. The rock was probably used, crushed for building material, spread on fields to improve drainage, used to fill holes and level ground, gradually absorbed into the landscape over centuries until it was indistinguishable from the natural terrain. The evidence of excavation vanished. The underground city consumed its own evidence. Even the process of its creation was invisible. They must have been tough, physically tough, mentally tough, accustomed to darkness and confined spaces and the bone-deep tiredness that comes from hours of manual labor underground. They must have known the rock the way a sailor knows the sea, intimately, respectfully, aware of its moods and its dangers. They would have known when the stone was changing character, when it was getting harder or softer, when a crack was developing that might signal instability. They would have known when to push forward and when to stop, when to carve deeper and when to leave well enough alone. And they would have known that what they were building was important, that the tunnels and chambers they carved would shelter their children and their grandchildren and their grandchildren's grandchildren, that the stone doors they shaped would hold against invaders, that the ventilation shafts they cut would carry breath to the lungs of people not yet born. They were not just carving stone, they were carving survival. They were carving the future of their community into the body of the earth. There is something profound about building underground, something fundamentally different from building on the surface. A surface building announces itself, it declares its presence, it rises, it gleams, it says, "Look at me." An underground city does the opposite. It hides, it conceals, it says, "Do not find me." The greatest achievement of Derinkuyu is not its size or its depth or its engineering. It is its invisibility. 20,000 people, 18 stories, 55 meters deep, and from the surface, nothing, not a trace, not a sign, not a whisper, the most extraordinary building you have never seen. This stands in stark contrast to every other great building you have encountered in these stories. The pyramids of Egypt announce themselves from miles away. The temples of Angkor rise above the jungle canopy. The cathedrals of Europe pierce the skyline of every major city. These are buildings designed to be seen, designed to impress, designed to declare the power and the wealth and the ambition of their builders. Derinkuyu declares nothing. Derinkuyu is silent from the surface. There is no building to see, no tower, no dome, no wall, no gate, just the ordinary landscape of a Cappadocian town. Houses, courtyards, gardens, fields. The greatest architectural achievement in the region is completely and deliberately invisible. There is humility in that, and there is wisdom. The builders of Derinkuyu understood something that the builders of palaces and pyramids and towers did not. They understood that the most important building is not the one that impresses. It is the one that protects, not the one that reaches for the sky, but the one that reaches into the earth, not the one that declares power, but the one that ensures survival. The underground cities of Cappadocia stand as a testament to something essential about human nature, not our desire to build monuments, not our urge to leave a mark on the landscape, but our deeper, older, more fundamental need to survive, to protect our families, to shelter our communities, to find safety in a dangerous world. For thousands of years, in this strange and beautiful landscape of fairy chimneys and volcanic tuff and dry, thyme-scented air, people responded to that need by going down, by digging into the earth, by carving cities in the rock, by disappearing from the surface and creating a world below that was invisible and safe and sustainable for months at a time. It is one of the most remarkable achievements in the history of human habitation, not because it is beautiful, though it has its own austere beauty, not because it is famous, though it is increasingly well known, but because it worked for thousands of years through invasion after invasion, persecution after persecution. The underground cities of Cappadocia kept their inhabitants alive. The stone doors held, the ventilation shafts functioned, the water wells provided, the stores sustained. The tunnels protected. The earth held them safe, and the earth holds them still. And perhaps there is something else too, something that goes beyond survival, something about the nature of home, because the people who lived underground at Derinkuyu were not refugees in the way we usually understand the word. They did not flee to a foreign land. They did not seek shelter with strangers. They went home, down into the earth that they knew, that their parents had known, that their grandparents had carved. The underground city was not a temporary shelter. It was a second home. A winter home, in a sense, though the seasons that drove them underground were not seasons of weather, but seasons of war. The children born in the underground chambers would have known both worlds, the world above, of sun and wind and the smell of ripening grapes, and the world below, of stone and lamplight and the particular echo that sounds make in a carved tunnel. Both were home, Both were familiar, both were safe in their own way, and the passage between them, the descent down the worn stone stairs, the emergence back into the blinding Anatolian sunlight, was as natural to them as walking from one room to another in an ordinary house. We think of underground living as claustrophobic, as oppressive, as something to be endured rather than enjoyed, but that is because we are not accustomed to it. For the people of Derinkuyu, the underground was as much a part of their lives as the above ground. It was not a prison, it was an extension of their world, a deeper room, a lower floor, a place of safety and storage and worship and community that happened to be beneath the surface rather than above it. Come back now to the surface. One last time, come back to Cappadocia, but now it is night. The sun has set behind the distant mountains. The sky has passed through all its colors, from gold to copper to violet to the deep, limitless indigo of an Anatolian night. The fairy chimneys stand in silhouette against the starfield, dark columns against a sky so thick with stars that it seems to glow. There are no city lights here to dim them. The stars are sharp and clear and infinite. The Milky Way arches overhead like a river of light. And the fairy chimneys beneath it look like the towers of a city that has risen from the earth to touch the sky. But the real city is below. The real city is underground, hidden, silent, patient, waiting in the dark the way it has waited for centuries. The rolling stone doors are open now. The corridors are empty. The ventilation shafts breathe their slow, cold breath into the night air. The underground city sleeps. Imagine descending one last time, down the worn stone steps, into the cool air, into the silence, into the deep, permanent, unchanging dark. The corridors wrap around you. The stone is close. The air is still. The temperature is 13 degrees, as it was 1,000 years ago, as it will be 1,000 years from now. Nothing changes here, nothing hurries. The underground city exists outside of time. It is a place where the centuries have no meaning, where the seasons have no purchase, where the frantic pace of the world above is irrelevant. Here there is only stone and silence and the slow, patient, eternal breath of the earth. You are lying in the church, the carved church on the 7th level. The barrel-vaulted ceiling curves above you in the darkness. The stone altar stands at the far end of the nave. The apse is a smooth curve of rock, pale and perfect in the absolute darkness. You cannot see it, but you know it is there. You can feel the shape of the space around you, the way the air moves differently in a large chamber than in a narrow passage. The space opens up. The ceiling rises. The darkness breathes. There is no sound, none at all. The deepest silence you have ever known. The silence of stone, the silence of 55 meters of rock between you and the sky. The silence of a place that was built to be hidden, to be secret, to be the last refuge of a people who knew that survival depended on invisibility and patience and stone. And in that silence, something deeper than silence, a presence, not a sound, not a sight, not anything you can name, but something, the accumulated presence of all the people who sheltered here over the millennia, the Hittites who first carved the stone, the Phrygians who deepened the tunnels, the Christians who prayed in the underground churches, the Byzantines who hid from the Arab raiders, the Greek villagers who maintained the city for centuries. They are all here. Their presence is in the walls, in the floor, in the air, in the stone itself. They left no inscriptions, no paintings, no names, but they left something more enduring than any of those things. They left the city itself. The tunnels they carved, the doors they shaped, the shafts they cut, the spaces they hollowed from the living rock. Their legacy is the space itself, the void, the absence of stone where stone once was. They are the sculptors of emptiness, the architects of the invisible. Sleep is not something you do. Sleep is something that comes to you. It comes the way the darkness comes to the underground city, completely, absolutely, filling every corner and every corridor and every chamber with its deep, velvety, permanent peace. Let it come, do not reach for it, do not chase it, just lie here, in the carved stone church, in the silence, in the cool, ancient 13-degree air, and let it find you. It knows where you are, it always knows. You are drifting now, the story is fading, not ending, just fading, the way a voice fades as the speaker walks away down a stone corridor, growing softer, more distant, less distinct, until it is not a voice at all but a vibration, a resonance, a memory of sound absorbed by the rock and held there forever. You are drifting now, down through the levels of sleep, down through the tunnels of rest, down through the chambers of peace, each level deeper than the last, each chamber quieter than the one before. The rolling stone doors close behind you, one by one, sealing out the noise, sealing out the light, sealing out the world. You are drifting now. The fairy chimneys stand above you in the starlight, silent and strange and impossibly beautiful. The Anatolian wind moves through them with a low, soft sound like a whisper. The stars turn overhead, the earth holds its breath, and 55 meters below, in the deepest chamber of the deepest underground city ever built, the darkness is total and the silence is absolute, and the stone is warm with the memory of all the lives it has sheltered. You are safe, you are held by the earth, you are wrapped in stone and silence and the slow, patient, eternal warmth of 13 degrees. The ventilation shaft breathes for you now, in and out, the rhythm of the earth, the rhythm of the rock, the rhythm of a place that has been keeping people safe for 3,000 years. The candle in the underground church has gone out. The last flicker of orange light has died. The darkness is complete, and in the darkness, there is nothing to fear. There is only rest, only warmth, only the deep, dreamless, stone-walled peace of a place that was built for exactly this purpose, to shelter, to protect, to hold. And to hold you. Sleep now. Sleep the way the underground city sleeps, deep in the rock, hidden from the world, safe from every danger, warm and dark and still. Sleep the way the rolling stone doors sleep, heavy, solid, immovable, sealed against the night. Sleep the way the ventilation shafts sleep, breathing slowly, breathing gently, breathing the cool, mineral-scented air of the deep earth. In and out, in and out, like the breath of the mountain, like the silence of a church carved from stone, like the slow, unhurried, eternal patience of a city that waited 3,000 years to be found. Sleep, and let the stone that has kept so many secrets keep one more, keep you, hold you, carry you through the night. Good night, and let the hidden city beneath the earth keep watch over your dreaming.